Most people think long passages are exciting. In fact, the most exciting part about long passages is the preparation and the passage planning. Most parts of the passage itself are usually boring. But don't make that mistake and say it out loud. Neptune will come after you.
We didn't originally expect to have a 12-day sea trial after 3 months in port, but nevertheless, we set sail for French Guiana, a 1,400 nautical mile passage from about 200 miles off the coast of Brazil. We were curious to see how all of our new systems would work out. We were especially curious to see a boost in our self-sufficiency with the new solar panels. All the hard work and 3 months of repairs and upgrades paid off. It was a smooth sail for most of the 12 days at sea. It was even boring at times. But as Mike said, we learned the hard way to never say out loud that you are bored at sea. We had some early action when we noticed a leak in our diesel tank. Mike crawled into the engine room to sponge out the 6 or 8 inches of diesel that had escaped from the tank. We filled 6 8-gallon jugs with the spilled diesel. But after that issue was resolved, we had smooth sailing for several days, while our solar panels performed as we had hoped. We did anything we could to stay entertained, while SEEFALKE surfed through the sea at record-breaking speeds of 8 and 9 knots at times, thanks to the strong Guiana current. We cooked a lot, read a lot of books, played with the dogs, cooked some more. It was quite uneventful for the most part. Simple life at sea.
What you got there?
Well, first, freshly baked bread in the middle of the ocean.
It is yummy too. It's delicious. The dogs want some more.
Yeah, I stay 8 from the moment we left anchorage in Cabedelo.
Yeah.
And I think we have another 3 or 4 days to go.
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
I think we should be able to arrive on Saturday.
Okay.
In Cayenne, in French Guiana. This trip was great so far. We had a little bit of a rough start with seasickness and some trouble with the cover of the fuel tank. So I remember I had to go down there a few times and bail out the bilge for fuel, take a bath in the diesel.
Yeah, that was no fun. And we filled up all our empty water jugs full of diesel.
Yeah, but I filled them back. I filled them back this morning. Put them back in the tank.
Okay.
I checked the bilge. It seems all tight. I fixed the cover, which was nasty work, but it had to be done. We're healing pretty much, and there's nothing coming out, so I think the cover is good now.
Okay, good. Whew. 'Cause that was no fun.
So
especially we were all queasy, trying to get our Seadogs back, and then down there just submersed in diesel.
And submersed in diesel and diesel fumes, and it was just ugly. It was working with your head down with sponge, your whole body covered in diesel.
And then trying to get pour the buckets into the small little water jugs also was a balancing act with the boat flip-flopping all over the place.
Yeah, at first we had much rougher conditions than right now. We had like 2 to 3 meters of waves, and we really felt the Guiana current. But we made good speed. We made like fantastic, phenomenal speed. We broke one record after the other. I think our latest record's around like 160 something miles per day in 24 hours. I think our slowest day so far was 101 mile per day. That was pretty much the fastest day we had on the crossing.
Yeah, yeah.
No, we're making an average of between 5 to 6 knots. And we had a few slow days right at the equator, but the doldrums inside the Atlantic pretty narrow. And now we caught the northeasterly trades, and as you can see, we're making some good speed. It's around 6.5 knots right now. Great sailing.
Yeah, we've had these waves and swells about the whole time.
Perfect sailing conditions. I mean, apart from the very first 2 days, maybe, until we got our sea legs back, but then we could enjoy the speed.
Right.
And we can enjoy our new equipment.
Yeah.
So we're now completely self-sufficient.
Okay, so all our improvements we made in Cabedelo, are they paying off?
I think they do. We are completely self-sufficient now. It's depending a little bit of the course toward the sun that we learned that, because the course we had, like northwest, the sun at the moment is north of us. And we have the northern summer, and we are having northwesterly course. So half the day, mainly the afternoon, the solar panels are covered from our sails. So sometimes we adjusted our course slightly, or took down a few sails, just to allow the sun to produce more energy for us. But we're self-sufficient, no question. We have our fridge and we have our autopilot running, we're the biggest consumers, so we're self-sufficient.
We have cold drinks.
We have cold drinks.
Right now we have the solar panels slanted toward the sun. As you can see right behind you.
Yeah, we can adjust the angle of the solar panels towards the sun, which gives a great, which makes a great difference in its effectiveness and their effectiveness, really.
Okay, so we've gone a little over 900 miles, I think, at this point. So, but where are we?
Yeah, we are around 300 nautical miles out at sea. We're right at the affluent of the Amazon River. 300 miles this way is the Amazon.
Yeah, but we can't see it, of course. We are completely offshore. We have nothing but horizon and the water in our 360-degree view. Although we have seen a few ships, a few big ships at night and during the day. Not too many.
Yeah, we kept out here for a few reasons. One of the reasons is we wanted to sail in international waters. Second reason is we wanted to catch the Guiana current that is the strongest, below, east of the 2,000 meter line, 2,000 meter depth line. So right now we have around 4,000 meters water depth below us, and we have great wind. We have we had the southerly trades south of the equator. Then we had 2 days of doldrum crossing, very light winds. And now we're in the northerly trades, coming from the northeast with let me see, 5 to 4 at the moment, 5 to 4, gusting 6. In the night we usually take down a few sails, so we don't have to do some night reefing action when the squall comes through. But we haven't had many squalls so far, and the gusts were low, very low. They were in the low 20s. So a very pleasant, comfortable journey so far. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this passage is almost as long as the Atlantic crossing as far as distance, because the total is about 1,400 nautical miles, whereas the Atlantic crossing was just under 1,700 miles. And from Cabedelo to Alabama, when we finish this passage, we're about a third of the way there. So even though we won't go straight through, but it's kind of comforting to know that we would have maybe, just 2 more 10-day passages and we'd be in Alabama. So that's where we're trying to get to next, with a few stops along the way. As we reached days 9 and 10 at sea, we actually began to complain a little bit about being bored. Big mistake. This is when Neptune made us pay, with rudder failure in the middle of the night.
Yeah, before we go into detail what happened that night, just want to give you a little insight of our steering system we have. So we have a hydraulic steering system that involves this wheel, the steering wheel, as well as the main steering wheel of the cockpit. So these steering wheels are kind of they're synchronized, so they work together. When I turn this, or I can turn the that in the cockpit. As an emergency device, we do have a mechanical tiller. I mean, it's really big, and we need this leverage because the rudder is so big. So this tiller is mechanically connected with the rudder shaft. And it's a great rudder position indicator as well, because when we turn one of the wheels, then the tiller will turn left to right, starboard to port. The only thing, for example, when we would lose hydraulic oil in the hydraulic system, and we wouldn't be able to steer our boat using the hydraulic steering system, we need to switch a little valve, a bypass valve, that allows the oil to move freely, and then we can use the tiller to move the rudder and consequentially steer the boat. Okay, this is our main steering wheel. As I said, it's synchronized with the one that we just saw on the stern. And this is the control panel for our autopilot. While we're at sea, now we're at anchor, but while we're at sea, we usually have it on an auto mode, like this, or we have it on wind vane mode, like this. So the autopilot, the auto mode allows us to keep a course, keep the same like compass course, and the wind vane mode allows us to keep a certain angle to the wind. Here, this red indicator on the top tells us it's an electronic rudder indicator. So this means that we have the rudder is pointing 5 degrees starboard. This means that the rudder is pointing 5 degrees to port. The autopilot controls a little hydraulic pump. It's also located in the stern cabin.
So let's kind of relive what happened. So it was in the wee hours of the morning or the evening.
It's the evening. It was 22:45 or 23:30, I think it was.
And you were on watch. I was asleep, and you woke me up and told me to get up here. And what had you discovered?
Yeah. So let's have a look into the stern cabin and look at the hydraulic steering complex. We have a little bit of a mess down here, but the stern cabin at sea is mainly our backyard. It's our barn where we keep just everything, you know.
We had to clear all of this.
So we have sails
that night too.
And below the bunks down here, this is where we have the steering. The hydraulic steering system. So what you see here, this is the rudder shaft. This is the rudder quadrant. This is the hydraulic piston, and this is the shaft for the electronic rudder indicator. And on the other side, we have the hydraulic pumps and the bypass valve. It's not a little opening over here, and here you see this threaded connection, and this threaded connection came loose, and what I assume is that it was not threaded in all the way to begin with, and this security came loose by hundreds and thousands of times moving underneath this floorboard. You see, it was cut out by previous owners, but maybe not enough. So it was still scrubbed against the floorboard and eventually came loose. So as a result, the piston that was moved by the electric pump of the autopilot moved, but since it didn't have a connection with the rudder quadrant anymore, the rudder wouldn't move. So they were just disconnected, and the autopilot could not keep the course, and we also could not manually steer the boat because the manual pump and the steering wheel operates the same piston.
Yeah, so I was up on the stern holding the rudder in the neutral position. We're trying to connect the piston to the rudder quadrant. And so I was going back and forth from the stern tiller to the cockpit wheel until we got it to where you could connect it.
Yeah, what we had to do was I had to loosen this connection over here. So take this out, this bolt out, thread this eye back into the piston shaft, and do this while both the steering wheel and the rudder would point into neutral position, so that we would not need to reconfigure the rudder indicator and the autopilot.
The good news was it was a calm night. There wasn't a lot of wind, so even though we were running around in circles in the middle of the Atlantic, we weren't in any danger.
Yeah, and it is a clear result of negligence. It's we never checked the hydraulic steerings, and as part of the departure checklist, we included that. So before we depart every time, we'll have a look into this little box and we see if everything is all right there. So the good news is it turned out that the mechanical steering is a great safety backup feature. And this is the first time we ever use it, by the way. So it's easy as that. So this is where the hydraulic pump is, and the valve. And there's this valve over here. And when we want to switch from hydraulic to mechanical steering, we just open this bypass valve. And if you want to go back to mechanical, to hydraulic, we just close it again, and we're good to go.
Yes, the calmness and boredom turned into a little chaos, but only for a couple of hours. We were lucky. The rest of the passage was free of any major events. We had a huge pod of dolphins greet us as we got closer to Cayenne. Goodbye, Brazil! Viva la France! Can't believe we're back in France. We anchored in Cayenne for 2 nights, then made a simple 12-hour passage to Kourou, where we made it just in time for the Ariane 5 Mission BA-248 launch from the Kourou Spaceport. In our next episode, we upgrade our battery system and make our way to some of the other islands of French Guiana. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We have many more sailing adventures and cool destination spots coming your way. Also, check out our cool Patreon rewards and consider becoming a part of our crew. And be sure to read our online logbooks for the inside look into our adventures. Just click the links in the description to learn more.